I'm going to tell you a story, but the first thing you have to understand is time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle because I'm the one that's talking to you. Welcome to the cult. And since we have that whole Sakuna Espada, Gate of Omens thing, I'm going to go into the Omen. Although, interestingly enough, out of all that list of fictional Antichrist, the one that I got the biggest, scariest hard vibe off of was really the Pat Robertson one. I don't know, maybe that's like, I don't know why, but for some reason, I have had in my head for an indeterminate amount of time the core notion that the like the president would be like the Antichrist would be the president somehow, and like maybe I just had Pat Robertson's ghost float through me. That might make sense. That might make sense. Preda being Preda. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. So we're going to get into the Omen. The Omen is a 1976 supernatural horror film directed by Richard Donner and written by David Seltzer, an international co-produced by international co-production in United Kingdom, United States. Stars Gregory Peck, Lee Remick, David Warner, Harvey Spencer Stevens in his film debut, Billy Whitelaw, Patrick Troughton, Martin Benson, and Leo McKern. Phil Blackwell's Damien Thorpe. Young child replaces birth by his father, unbeknownst to his wife, after their biological child Joyce dies shortly after birth. As a series of mysterious events and violent deaths occurred around the family and Damien enters childhood, they come to learn that he is in fact the prophesied Antichrist. Released theatrically by 20th Century Fox in June 1976, The Omen received mixed reviews from critics, but was a commercial success, grossing over $6 million in the U.S. box office, becoming one of the highest-grossing films of 1976. Plot. American diplomat Robert Thorne and his wife Catherine are living in Rome, where Catherine gives birth to a boy whom Robert is told died immediately. Hospital chaplain Father Spoleto persuades Robert to secretly adopt another baby whose mother has just died in childbirth. Robert does not tell Catherine that the child is not their own. They name him Damien. And that's where the whole, Damien is the Antichrist thing comes from. It's literally from this movie. 5 years later, Robert is ambassador of the United Kingdom in London when mysterious phenomena begin to plague the Thorns. A menacing Rottweiler appears at their home. The Grimm. Effectively, that whole thing about, the Grimm from as Owen of Death from Harry Potter, that's actually a thing. In this case, it's a thing associated with the Antichrist, but, the Grimm was noted as a scary evil thing as an omen anyway, so there's that. Missing Rottweiler appears at their home. Damien's nanny publicly hangs herself during his 5th birthday party. Yeesh. Cypher Nico Banda. Public suicide by hanging. That's scary. A new nanny named Mrs. Blaylock arrives unexpectedly. Damien violently resists entering a church, and animals at a safari park are terrified by his presence. Father Brennan warns Robert about Damien's origins, hinting that he is not human, insisting that Robert take Holy Communion. He tells Robert that Damien is the son of Satan, that Catherine is pregnant, and that Damien will kill his unborn sibling and parents. Later, Father Brennan is killed by a falling lightning rod. Catherine tells Robert she wants an abortion, which he opposes. Damien knocks Catherine over a railing into the floor below, injuring her and causing her to miscarry. Photographer Keith Jennings notices shadows in photographs of Nanny and Father Brennan that presage their deaths. Keith shows Robert the photos along with the news clippings and biblical passage from Father Brennan suggesting coming of the Antichrist. He accompanies Robert to Rome to investigate Damien's birth. They learn that a fire destroyed the hospital, including Catherine's maternity records, and killed the staff on duty. They find Father Spoleto in a monastery, severely burned, mute, blind in one eye, and partially paralyzed. He directs them to the cemetery where Damien's biological mother is buried. In the grave of Damien's mother, Robert and Keith find a jackal carcass, and in the next plot, a child skeleton with a shattered skull. Robert realizes that the child was his own son, murdered so that Damien could take his place. A pack of Rottweilers drives Robert and Keith from the cemetery. Robert calls Catherine in the hospital to tell her that she must leave London before she can do so. Mrs. Blaylock throws Catherine to her death from the window of her room. Robert and Keith befriend Antichrist exorcism expert Carl Bugenhagen in Israel, who says that if Damien is the true Antichrist, he will bear a birthmark in the shape of 3 6s. Yep. Mark of the Beast. Mark of the Beast. We see it again. Carl gives Robert 7 daggers with which to kill Damon on hallowed ground. Robert refuses to do so, but Keith remains convinced of its necessity. Shortly after, Keith is decapitated by a sheet of glass from a truck. I feel like that's a very famous image. Enraged, Robert reluctantly accepts his task. By the way, I've made that exact dagger, just in case we have any pesky Antichrist we need to get rid of. Why? Because it's a freaking Antichrist. Seemed like a thing to do. Enraged, Robert reluctantly accepts his task. Robert finds a birthmark on the sleeping Damien's scalp and is attacked by Mrs. Blaylock, whom he fatally stabs. Armed with the daggers, Robert drives Damien to a local cathedral. His erratic driving draws the attention of the police. Robert drags a screaming Damien onto the altar to kill him and begs God to forgive him, but the police arrive on the scene and shoot him as he brandishes the dagger. The double funeral is attended by U.S. President and the First Lady. As the camera pans out, it's revealed that the funeral is Robert and Catherine's. Meanwhile, Damien, standing with the first couple, turns and smiles at the camera with menace. It's interesting, too. That's another place where, interesting thing about the Omen series is, it's all connected with, U.S. government. Like, in the first movie, his parents are a diplomat and his wife. In, the fourth movie, the relevant couple are a senator, a Virginia senator, and his wife. In the third one, when we're still following Damien before he dies at the end of the third one, he is now, if I recall correctly, become a diplomat. I'm probably going to look them up and do little blurbs in later episodes, but it's fascinating. Like, maybe that's why the whole Pat Robertson, the president as the Antichrist fictional character thing was like resonated so hard with me, because there's like so much of like para Christos Spartana Vazra, like United States government. Just there is. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe.